This is part 3 of the video series for payment certification process in FIDIC forms of contracts 1999 edition and 1987 editions. When we talk about the differences between FIDIC 99 and 87 versions, we usually say that in FIDIC 99 there is a provision for advance payment, and in FIDIC 87 there is no such provision. That is true, but how many of you are aware that in FIDIC 87 provision for advance payment was given in clause 60 of the suggested conditions of particular application? It says, where provision is to be included for an advance payment, the following subclause may be added. Example subclause to be numbered as appropriate. Advance payment 60. An advance payment of the amount stated in the appendix to tender shall, following the presentation by the contractor to the employer of an approved performance security in accordance with subclause 10.1, and a guarantee in terms approved by the employer for the full value of the advance payment, be certified by the engineer for payment to the contractor. Such guarantee shall be progressively reduced by the amount repaid by the contractor as indicated in interim payment certificates of the engineer issued in accordance with this clause. The advance payment shall not be subject to retention. The advance payment shall be repaid by way of reduction in interim payment certificates, commencing with the next certificate issued after the total certified value of the permanent works and any other items in the bill of quantities, excluding the deduction of retention, exceeds, insert figure, percent of the sum stated in the letter of acceptance. The amount of the reduction in each interim payment certificate shall be 1, insert fraction, of the difference between the total value of the permanent works and any other items in the bill of quantities, excluding the deduction of retention, due for certification in such interim payment certificate and the said value in the last preceding interim payment certificate until the advance payment has been repaid in full, provided that upon the issue of a taking over certificate for the whole of the works or upon the happening of any of the events specified in subclause 63.1 or termination under clauses 65, 66 or 69, the whole of the balance then outstanding shall immediately become due and payable by the contractor to the employer. So, this is in the conditions of particular applications as a suggested clause, and by reading it, you can understand what it says. However, in FIDIC 99 edition, this is a new provision to the general conditions of contract. Now we will see what subclause 14.2 says. 14.2 Advance payment. The employer shall make an advance payment as an interest-free loan for mobilization when the contractor submits a guarantee in accordance with this subclause. The total advance payment, the number and timing of installments, if more than one, and the applicable currencies and proportions shall be as stated in the appendix to tender, unless and until the employer receives this guarantee, or if the total advance payment is not stated in the appendix to tender, this subclause shall not apply. The engineer shall issue an interim payment certificate for the first installment after receiving a statement under subclause 14.3, which is application for interim payment certificates, and after the employer receives the performance security in advance in accordance with subclause 4.2 and a guarantee in form within a country approved by the employer. It can be other jurisdiction as well, but it should be approved by the employer and shall be in the form annexed to the particular conditions or in another form approved by the employer. It is the employer's obligation to pay an advance payment for mobilization as specified in the appendix to tender with an exchange of a guarantee. It will be a sum or a percentage of accepted contract amount. In FIDIC 99, advance payment is not defined. It is a payment made by the employer to the contractor in advance to cover the cost of mobilization. That's why sometimes we call it as mobilization advance. The purpose of an advance payment is to ease the contractor's cash flow. Further, the clause says the contractor shall ensure that the guarantee is valid and enforceable until the advance payment has been repaid. But its amount may be progressively reduced by the amount repaid by the contractor as indicated in the payment certificates. If the terms of the guarantee specify its expiry date and the advance payment has not been repaid by the date 28 days prior to the expiry date, the contractor shall extend the validity of the guarantee until the advance payment has been repaid. Therefore, if the guarantee has an expiry date and the advance payment has been not fully recovered by the date which is 28 days prior to the expiry date, contractor has to extend the validity of the guarantee until the advance payment has been repaid. Also, the clause says the advance payment shall be repaid through percentage deductions in payment certificates unless other percentages are stated in the appendix to tender. A. Deductions shall commence in the payment certificate in which the total of all certified interim payments, excluding the advance payment and deductions and repayments of retentions, exceeds 10% of the accepted contract amount less provisional sums. According to this clause, the recovery of the advance payment is done through percentage deductions in payment certificates. Where an advance payment is not recovered fully, the outstanding balance will immediately become due and payable by the contractor to the employer. Okay, let's continue with the clause. B. Deductions shall be made at the amortization rate of 1/4 of the amount of each payment certificate, excluding the advance payment and deductions and repayments of retention, in the currencies and proportions of the advance payment until such time as the advance payment has been repaid. If the advance payment has not been repaid prior to the issue of the taking over certificate for the works or prior to termination under clause 15, which is termination by employer, clause 16, suspension and termination by contractor, or clause 19, which is force majeure, as the case may be, the whole of the balance then outstanding shall immediately become due and payable by the contractor to the employer. In case where advance payment is not specified in the appendix to tender, then this subclause will not apply. In such situations, the good practice is to strike through this clause and insert not applicable in the particular conditions. As we already discussed, the advance payment is recovered through percentage deductions in payment certificates. The recovery percentages must be given in the appendix to tender. In case if there are no percentages in the appendix to tender, then the deductions start in the payment certificate in which the total certified interim payments excluding the advance payment and deductions and retention, exceeds 10% of the accepted contract amount less provisional sums. Then the deductions will be made at 25% of the amount of each payment certificate, again excluding the advance payment and deductions and retention, until the amount of advance payment has been recovered. We have to be careful to make sure that the rate of reduction for the repayments should be able to achieve the full repayment before the completion. Now in FIDIC 99 guidance for the preparation of particular conditions, it says subclause 14.2 advance payment. When writing the particular conditions, consideration should be given to the benefits of advance payment. Unless this subclause is not to apply, the total advance payment and the number of installments, if more than one, must be specified in the appendix to tender. The rate of reduction for the repayments should be checked to ensure that the repayment is achieved before completion. That's what we already discussed. The typical figures in subparagraphs A and B of the general conditions subclause are based on the assumption that the total advance payment is less than 22% of the accepted contract amount. The acceptable forms of guarantee should be included in the tender documents annexed to the particular conditions. An example form is annexed to these documents as Annex E. So there is an example form attached to the FIDIC. As per the FIDIC 99, the guidance for preparation of particular conditions, these percentages are based on the assumption that the total advance payment is less than 22% of the accepted contract amount. So this percentages means the percentages in this clause where it mentioned in A and B. Now let's see the example form of advance payment guarantee. FIDIC gives an example form at Annex E. Annex E, example form of advance payment guarantee. See the comments on subclause 14.2. Brief description of contract. Name and address of beneficiary, whom the contract defines as the employer. That will be the beneficiary. We have been informed that the name, hereinafter called the principal, is your contractor under such contract and wishes to receive an advance payment for which the contract requires him to obtain a guarantee. At the request of the principal, we name of the bank hereby irrevocably undertake to pay you, the beneficiary, employer, and any sum or sums not exceeding in total the amount of the guaranteed amount. You have to insert here, say, space, upon receipt by us of your demand in writing and your written statement stating A, that the principal has failed to repay the advance payment in accordance with the conditions of the contract, and B, the amount which the principal has failed to repay. This guarantee shall become effective upon receipt within brackets of the first installment of the advance payment by the principal. That means this guarantee will become effective once the advance payment is received by the contractor. Back to the example. Such guaranteed amount shall be reduced by the amounts of the advance payment repaid to you as evidenced by your notices issued under subclause 14.6 of the conditions of contract, following receipt from the principal of a copy of each purported notice. We shall promptly notify you of the revised guaranteed amount accordingly. That means whenever there is a repayment of advance payment through the payment certificate, this guarantee will revised by the guarantor. Any demand for payment must contain your signature, which must be authenticated by your bankers or by a notary public. The authenticated demand and statement must be received by us at this office on or before within brackets the date 70 days after the expected expiry of the time for completion. And you have to give the expiry date when this guarantee shall expire and shall be returned to us. That means any demands should be signed by the employer and should be authenticated by the bank of the employer or notary public. And also the example says, we have been informed that the beneficiary may require that the principal to extend this guarantee if the advance payment has not been repaid by the date 28 days prior to such expiry date. We undertake to pay you such guaranteed amount upon receipt by us within such period of 28 days of your demand in writing and your written statement that the advance payment has not been repaid and that this guarantee has not been extended. So this paragraph is for the requirement of the renewal of advance payment as per the clause before the time for completion. And also it says this guarantee shall be governed by the laws of, you have to insert here what laws, and shall be subject to the uniform rules for demand guarantees published as number 458 by the International Chamber of Commerce except as stated above, and the date and signature. This can be changed based on the country and wherever. Sometimes the bank will have different forms, but any format has to approved and accepted by the employer. The guarantee must be provided by an entity approved by the employer and in the form either annexed to the particular conditions or approved by the employer. The contractor must ensure that the guarantee is valid and enforceable until the advance payment has been fully recovered by the employer. The enforceability of guarantees varies between jurisdictions and therefore the choice of law applicable to the guarantee has to be made carefully. Therefore, the law does not necessarily need to be the same as the governing law of the FIDIC contract. If the guarantee has an expiry date and the advance payment has not been repaid 28 days prior to that date, as we discussed, the contractor must extend the validity of the guarantee until the advance payment has been repaid. Further, the expiry date should take into account for the possible delays to completion. Where the contractor fails to extend the guarantee, the employer may use it for the unpaid balance. The given 28 days is to allow the employer a reasonable period to make the necessary arrangements for that. Now let's see how it's given in appendix to tender. It says in FIDIC 99 you can find this appendix to tender and I have extracted only the relevant part. The Total advance payment as per the clause 14.2. Number and times of installments, clause 14.2. Currencies and proportions has to mention here for 14.2. For payments each month or year, we have to mention the currency and the percentage of the accepted contract amount. And start repayment of advance payment we have to provide as per the clause 14.2a in this place. Repayment amortization of advance payment. We have to mention here as per the clause 14.2b, we have to give the percentages in again under which amount. So this is the appendix to tender given in the FIDIC forms of contract in FIDIC 99. The total advance payment as a sum or as a percentage of the accepted contract amount and the number and installments and the applicable currencies and proportions must be stated in the appendix to tender as shown in this table. Therefore, the engineer may only issue an interim payment certificate for the first installment after he receives a statement with supporting documents from the contractor as per the subclause 14.3, which is the application for interim payment certificates, and the employer receives the performance security as per subclause 4.2, which is performance security clause, and the advance payment guarantee. If in case the engineer fails to issue the interim payment certificate, the provisions of clause 16, which is suspension and termination by contractor, will come into the play. Subclause 14.7a provides for payment of the first installment of the advance payment, which we will discuss later. Delay in payment by the engineer can delay the mobilization. If the advance payment has not been fully recovered before the issue of the taking over certificate or prior to termination under clause 15, which is termination by employer, clause 16, suspension and termination by contractor, or clause 19, which is force majeure, the whole of the balance then outstanding shall immediately become due and payable by the contractor to the employer. That is the end of part 3 of payment certification video series. In this video, we discussed subclause 14.2, which is for advance payment. And since everyone is familiar about advance payment and there is nothing special in this clause in FIDIC 99, and I haven't spent much time of explaining each and every word of the clause. But I think you have got a general idea about what is the clause and why it is there and how you have to amend it and what is the difference between FIDIC 87 and FIDIC 99. We will start part 4 with subclause 14.3 in next video. Please subscribe the channel to get notifications of new videos. Thank you.